But it's a Tom E. Tuesday. We're joined by Tommy Curran of NBC Sports Boston. His latest is up at NBC Sports Boston right now. Overview on what the Patriots did in day one of free agency. Tommy Curran, what do you think of what the Patriots were able to accomplish on day one of, I shouldn't say free agency, day one of legal tampering? How do you think they did?
I think they made progress where the ability was there to make progress. You got to fish where the fish are, and then on the offensive side of the ball, the two obvious positions of need, and I'm sure you guys have explored it plenty over the last 24 hours and during the early portion of the show. But you can't force it. You can't force people at the point of a bayonet, whether you're Chris Godwin or Ronnie Stanley, to say, you know what, I'm going to uproot. I'm going to take that money that they're offering me and that opportunity in New England and just on a lark just go there at my age and walk away from a team that's either a playoff team, as Tampa was, or, a Super Bowl aspirant, as Baltimore was. So I look at it and say, okay, we understood that was a chance, and they made their decision. Then you look at the defensive side of the ball, and I think that they were innovative. I do wonder, like a signing of Carlton Davis, though, for the amount that he got, would he have been offered that kind of money if a Godwin or a Stanley were aboard? I think it's interesting to wonder about what domino effect those two missed signings had on the group they brought in.
Where do you stand on Milton Williams? Obviously, a huge commitment to him. I think he's certainly shown how good he can be. The other thing is he was part of a really good defense. He was next to Jalen Carter and played less than 50% of the snaps. So where do you come down on Milton Williams, the player?
To the good, he could be nasty when you look at that defensive line. I mean, Keon White is a freak. Christian Barmore is also a freak. Harold Landry is absolutely a talented outside rusher, although he's more of an Uche than a Judon by a long shot. So you could have a really potent front. If it's just Milton Williams at 295 pounds and you don't have that complement around him to help him get better, I think it's a great point by you. He's 26. There's plenty of upside. There's a massive commitment made there. He can either be a huge part of an extremely talented defensive line or the only game in town because we don't know what's going to happen with Barmore health-wise and his availability. And Keon White is wonderfully talented, and you saw that in the early portion of the season. Then he tapered off and actually was seemingly at the scene of the crime with a lot of defensive breakdowns and loss of contain. So I like it in theory on paper, and he was you can't blame them for making that signing. But as always with defensive linemen, sometimes you hold your breath. I walked outside, so it's a little windy right now. I was not confident about my indoor reception.
Okay.
It's all right. Sound good.
We're picking up a little bit of wind, but your reception sounds good. Tom, you also
Going
wrote...
back in. No,
all good. Tom, you also wrote that culture will be a determining factor on who the Patriots are pursuing in free agency. It certainly seems to be that way. They have ties to a lot of these players, whether it's McDaniels and his time with the Raiders, or Terrence Williams' time with the Lions, or, of course, Vrabel in Tennessee. How much of a determining factor is that for the Patriots, and how badly do they need that in the locker room? Because that does seem like a big point of emphasis.
It's a huge determining factor. I'm not saying it's as big as production, but it's a disqualifying factor if there's a question mark around how you would impact the players around you. Because your most important players on this team, especially Drake May and Christian Gonzalez, are young enough to be in positions where if you bring players in on the defensive side of the ball or the offensive side of the ball who might pull in the other direction. As Gerard Mayo always said, you got 10% of the team pulling in the right direction, 10% could be pulling in the wrong direction, and that 80% in the middle to see who wins. And last year, I think that in Gerard's first year here, by the end of the season, the empowerment given to players to speak their minds and feel empowered to say what you like and let your feelings be known. Actually, as the team started to play worse, that 10% of the negative started to pull in a direction, and they joined in. I mean, why is Kayshon Boutte, who I really enjoy, but a sixth-round pick, voicing his opinion so freely on the direction of the offense and the amount of times he should get the football? I mean, So to me, that empowerment of guys to be able to speak their minds really, I mean, speak your mind. Go ahead. I mean, it is a free country still. But there should be a pecking order. And I think that when you look at a DK Metcalf or a Devontae Adams, they're not dinks, but they have an expectation for what they should get in terms of targets and production. And the Patriots looked at Drake May in particular as being the leader of the team. And if you're going to bring somebody in and give them $25, $30 million at the wide receiver position, you're inferring that they are as or more important than anybody else on your team. So they want to make sure that it's the right person that they empower with that.
Well, speaking of some of those big receivers that have not signed with the Patriots, is there a chance that Drake May isn't the draw that a lot of us around here thinks that he would be?
I don't know if I would ascribe it to May. I think that would be really the lone thing that you could look at. If you're Chris Godwin and you're deciding, do I want to play with Mayfield and stay down here in Florida with a team that went to the playoffs in a place that I'm comfortable in, have always been, and I'm rooted, or do I want to uproot and go to New England? What are the pros about New England? And I think that Drake May would be about their only pro. He's probably would I say he's better? Certainly trends better than Baker Mayfield. Yeah, he's better than Baker Mayfield.
No, he's not.
But what else?
Not right now.
Would you rather play with Baker Mayfield for a wide receiver?
11,
No, I mean, like, in 2 years, maybe he could be, or maybe if he has a great year. I think based on just what we saw last year.
Who's going to have a better year this year? Who's going to have a better year? Baker Mayfield or Drake May?
Baker Mayfield.
Oh, it's on.
Baker Mayfield's not throwing to Mac Hollins and Jalen Polk.
But how about another? This is a more fair one in my estimation. How about another guy who turned down their money a year ago, Ayuk, who chose to play or return to play with Purdy in San Fran?
Yeah,
like Ayuk or May? Purdy or May? I'd say May.
Hopefully May. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yep.
But again, we then get back to the conversation of what's the level of comfort the Patriots would have with Ayuk's demands and ability to kick rocks if he's not getting things his way. I think the bar is going to be so high. You don't have to be a pain in the ass. You don't have to be Terrell Owens in the locker room, I think, right now for the Patriots to say, not sure. Godwin fit the bill. Jakobi Meyers would fit the bill. Cooper Kupp would fit the bill. I think they're setting a high bar for that. And because it's not just about May, it's about the wide receiver room as a whole. Jalen Polk and Javon Baker did not signal that they were guys, or Booty, who were guys who were like, okay, we understand, we know our place, whatever we can do to make ourselves better. Jalen Polk's proclaiming himself to have the best hands in the league. Javon Baker on draft day is telling everybody how unbelievably he's going to perform, so that he's performing literal miracles. So they're very concerned about the cultural aspect, and that trumps character aspect. I want to reiterate that. Character, to me, when we start talking about kids' character when they're 22 and 23, that's tough. It's cultural. What do you like? Not are you a bad person, because we all change all the time.
We're talking to Tom E. Curran, NBC Sports Boston. He joins us every Tuesday here on Jones and Keefe at high noon. We call it a Tom E. Tuesday.
I love that too.
Yeah, it's Keith.
Nice.
You can give the hat tip to Rich Keith there. Yeah,
you're kind of locked in now.
That's true. We can't. No other days for you. No options. It is day 2 legal tampering. What are you hearing? What are they going to get done here in the next whatever it is, 28 hours leading up to the official start of free agency?
It's interesting because they talked about pivots and moving and the ability to be mobile, and I think we saw that. For instance, we see a guy like Cam Robinson continuing to sit out there. If you look at some of his numbers from 2024, he's not an encouraging guy. He is seen, I think, as he's a left tackle, of course, and that's a position of need. So he's seen as a player that would be the number 2 guy behind Ronnie Stanley, and he's still sitting there on the board. I think that the Patriots are moving quickly to Tier 2 free agency, as the signing of Mac Hollins would indicate. I would also say continue to stay loose on Jakobi Meyers. I think that the Patriots want to move somebody. I mean, let me rephrase that. I think the Patriots will explore trades of all manner. That is, they've already reportedly made entries on A.J. Brown. I think they were rebuffed. I think Matthew Berry reported that. Jakobi Meyers will be a target. Cooper Kupp, if he hasn't been released, that release is imminent. So all of those guys would be looked at as tier 2. I think that the Josh Dobbs signing means that the Joe Milton flip could be imminent. So I would bear that in mind too. And something I mentioned a couple weeks ago, just spitballing, why not send Joe Milton for Jakobi Meyers? It's an easy flip. Pick up his $10 million contract for 2025, and figure out if you want to do an extension with him. Again, Jakobi Meyers is not an elite wide receiver, but he is an 85 catch a year guy, and you know where he's going to be when he starts his route, and he's pretty durable. So I continue to bang that drum.
What about Cooper Kupp? You mentioned him. Jones and I both like him a lot, and it sounds like he's going to get released, but why take that chance of him picking you over other teams? Should they offer some sort of late-round pick in exchange for him now?
We all do this. Do you sometimes get to a point where you feel like you're finding fault with guys?
That's my default position. Exactly. I start there.
Who are you talking to?
Do I sometimes feel that? Yeah, no, I'd say I feel that. Yeah.
What do you think of this Jesus guy? I don't like the long hair.
Again with the sandals?
Daniel. But you look at Cooper Kupp and the ability to play 17 games, it's just not there. Mm-hmm. Additionally, I don't know Cooper Kupp's character. No, that's not the right. I don't know about Cooper Kupp's cultural fit. Character, again, I just said I don't like using that word because it is, unless you know the guy's a horrible human, let's stick away from that. Cultural fit. You got a guy who's been in Los Angeles, performed and produced at the level he has, and now he's going to come to New England, clear across the country to a different climate, different situation with different aspirations for the team. Do guys want to do that? I think everybody looks at their own careers, and there are probably times that you do it. Maybe he would look at that and say, you know what? This place thinks I'm good still. This place wants to give me a chance. I can help this kid, Drake May. I like Josh McDaniels. I think he's smart. Maybe he would, or maybe he'd be in a position like, do I want to do that at this point in my career? Go to a building team? So I think every player is different. But that's why I would look at Cooper Kupp, and you really have to vet what he would want from the team he's going to.
Does any other activity in free agency to this point steer you in a direction when it comes to the number 4 pick in the draft, or their approach with the number 4 pick in the draft?
The fact that they haven't addressed left tackle with a starting level individual continues to make me believe that they're going to have to do that on day one, whether that is taking someone at 4, Membu or Campbell, whether that's dealing down, trading that pick, and especially if Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter aren't there. But if you're sitting there looking at Will Campbell and Membu at 4 and you feel, and I'm spitballing here, I don't know how they feel about Membu necessarily. I do think that there's a lot of appreciation for Campbell. But if you're sitting there staring at that spot and saying, we can get one of these 2 guys, can we move down and add? But to answer your question more succinctly, because I'm in a babble mode right now, yeah, I think it impacts what they're going to do, especially on the offensive line, because you can't go in with a straight face saying, this is all we have at left tackle. Go left, Drake.
All right, he's Tom E. Curran, NBC Sports Boston, every Tuesday on Jones and Keefe. We call it a Tom E. Tuesday. You can check out his latest at NBC Sports Boston. For the Patriots free agency, a reminder that there are no shortcuts. You're back on Quick Slants tonight, right? I've seen the polls going out today. You're back on Quick Slants? Nice.
Yeah, we're going to go crazy with the polls, too, because I know that people have a lot of opinions all cooped up, so we're going to have plenty of polls in tonight's program at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Very
Tune
good.
in. Tommy Curran's polls. Yes. You can see that tonight on NBC Sports Boston. You can hear him on Thursdays with WEEI afternoons and every Tuesday at high noon here on Jones and Keefe. Tom, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Tom.
Tommy Curran. Still beating the drum for Jakobi Meyers. Jakobi Meyers for Joe Milton. How would you feel about that?
I'd do it. I'd do that.
I think I would I think that one I would do. Like I said before,
Yeah.
I'd want a day 2 pick. But now you're telling me no
You get
draft
a
pick.
number 2 receiver
Thank
kind
you.
of thing.
No draft
I
pick
would do it.
compensation for Myers.
Yeah.
I was about to ask, why would the Raiders do that? He answered it. They just want to ditch the contract. So Milton for Myers. Okay. Yeah, I would do
But
that.
also, what's the Raiders quarterback room right now? Geno Smith and right? They got
Is that
Geno,
it?
didn't they? So yeah, so maybe they even take him. And
do they still have who's the O'Connell? Aiden O'Connell. Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, all right, maybe they do. But I mean, it's a new wave of it's a new GM, it's a new coach, and maybe they'd be like, all right, we're going to change this up anyway.